Hello, and welcome to the Bettendorf Public Library's Take-Home Workshop. Today, we're going to be using the technique of wet felting to make little bowls. Wet felting is a technique that was thought to have originated in Central Asia. It's been used since before the 6th century BC. And felt has been found in Siberia, Scandinavia, and Germany. It's used in Mongolian yurts. It's an integral part of daily life in Asia and the Middle East. Middle Eastern rugs, Scandinavian hats. It's a craft that has been used throughout the world for centuries. And that's why we chose this one for our Global Gathering edition of the Take Home Workshop. So let's take a look at what is going to be in your kit. So first in your kit, you'll find wool roving. You're going to find about a 1/2 ounce. And we're giving you black and white today. And wool roving is wool that has been cleaned, dyed, and carded, and it's used for felting. You can use it for wet felting or needle felting. You can also, for this project, you can use, instead of wool roving like this, you can use wool, they might call it wool bat or wool batting, which is more of a sheet. A little bit harder for me to find, so we're going with the roving. About a 1/2 ounce of that. You'll find a styrofoam ball. This is going to be the form that we felt our roving around to make our little bowl. You can use pretty much anything round to felt onto. I've also done it with oranges very successfully. This particular styrofoam you'll see is a smooth styrofoam. You don't want a very rough textured form because then your felt might stick to it. So this is a smooth styrofoam ball, 3 or 4 inches in diameter. A nylon, we're going to use this to hold our pieces together as we do the felting. So if you have old nylons, don't throw them out. They're a great use for this. And then a Ziploc bag. What we're asking you to supply is a pair of scissors and some water and a little bit of dish soap. And I don't even think you can see it in there. There's literally 2 drops of dish soap in this probably 10 to 12 ounce drinking glass. So that's all we need. And then some additional plain water that is warm. So that's all of our supplies. Let's get started. These strands of wool roving are formed of protein scales, and pressure, friction, water, and soap are all things that will open those scales up. So we open them up and then the pressure pushes them together and those scales will interlock, and that's how wet felting takes this and makes it into this. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with, we're going to take our wool roving and we're going to separate it into, just tear it apart like this into strips, and we're just going to lay them down. And you can do this in whatever kind of shape you want, any design you want. I'm going to split mine out into strips. Just like that. Then I'm going to take my styrofoam and I'm just going to wrap my strips around it. And where the ends overlap, I want that to be varied if I can. This can be a little tricky. It's a little tricky to hold on to it and keep everything in place, but I just keep wrapping. And when I'm all is said and done, I want a fairly even as possible, a coat of wool roving around my ball. Now, if you have wool batting, you can see where this would be, that's the wool that comes in sheets. You can see where this would be a little bit easier to do that because the batting is going to cover more evenly. I will also say this, like I said, I've done this on an orange before. It was easier to do with an orange because the orange was easier to see if it was peeking through. Okay, so we have our nice misshapen ball where I think it's pretty well covered all over the place. Now, here's the hard part to do with one person. It's much easier to do this with two. So I'm just gonna put my arm over that to hold it in place. We need to put this ball inside of this nylon. So I'm gonna open it up like that. Then I'm just gonna pull it down over. Now, doing that is going to make some of your roving shift in there. There's just no way around that I've found. If you can figure out a way to do that without your roving moving, good for you. You're doing great. So then I'm just gonna tuck my hand down there, move it around. What I want is I want this to be as even as possible around the ball. Okay, so if I feel a spot where it feels a little thicker, I'm gonna smudge it around and I'm gonna keep tightening it up. And once I feel like I have a pretty even layer all the way around the ball, then I'm going to knot that off. Nice and tight. What the nylon does basically is it holds everything in place as you start the felting process. And then I'm just gonna snip that tail off. Now, in our Ziploc bag, we're going to put our ball, and we're going to take and put some warm water in with our soap. Like I said, it's just a drop or two. You don't need very much. And I'm gonna pour a little bit in here. Since you're working with water, depending on what sort of surface you're working on, you might want to have a towel to hand too. Okay, now we're gonna move that around. We want all of this, we want our roving covered ball. I want to get some of the air out of here too. We want our roving covered ball to soak this water up, which is actually easier to do with the less air there is in the bag. There we go. Move that around so it soaks that water up. Okay, now you can see there's a little bit down in the corner here, but not very much. In fact, I'm going to add a touch more of the soapy water because I want to make sure it's good and wet. Temperature-wise, this is it's a warm water. So not room temperature, warmer than that, but certainly not what I would call hot. A good warm water. Okay, so now we have our ball still. I can tell I got a big lump there. It's all wet. I'm gonna put it back in the bag. I'm gonna put in some more water that is just plain, clear, warm water. I'm going to seal this nice and tight, and then I'm going to start the felting in earnest, which is the pressure. So I'm going to roll it. I'm rolling it on my pad here. How hard you press, how strong you are, the resistance of the surface you're pressing on, those are all factors in felting. So my sister did one of these, and when I was working previously, I was always on a towel because I was on a table that I didn't want to get wet. She was working outside on a metal table, and she's much stronger than I am, and her felt came out much denser than mine, a lot stiffer. It's still, and here's the thing, I've had like a half dozen people do these. I've made 3 of them myself. It's one of those crafts that, as a beginner, you're not real sure what you're going to end up with, but it's going to be great. I think you're going to really like it. So this initial roll, we're going to keep doing this for 10 minutes. So in addition to having a fabulous felted bowl at the end of this, you're getting your upper body workout in too. So we're gonna turn off the camera and I'm gonna keep rolling, and in 10 minutes, we'll be right back. Okay, so I've been rolling now for 10 minutes. I'm going to open my bag up, and actually this is where you might need a towel. So let me grab mine. I'm gonna open my bag up. I'm gonna pour the water out and take out my ball. And I'm just gonna give it a good squeeze on my towel to squeeze some of that extra water out. And it feels pretty good. It feels pretty even. I don't have any big lumps anywhere. So we're gonna take where I tied off my nylon, I'm gonna pull that up and I'm gonna give it a little snip, because now we're gonna take it out of the nylon. So we had it in the nylon so that things wouldn't move around, but now you can feel as you're pulling this off, the nylon is sticking. It started felting to your ball, and you don't want that. So just very carefully hold on to your roving with one thumb and just peel the nylon away. And that's why we only go 10 minutes before taking the nylon off, because we don't want it to permanently adhere. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I can hear it. It was kind of a Velcro-y sound pulling away. Okay. I'm gonna roll that in my hands a little bit. It's looking pretty good. Now we're going to finish the felting process. So it's more the same. We're gonna put it back in the bag without the nylon now. We're gonna give it a little splish of water in there again. Push all that air out. Seal it up real good. And roll again. This time we're gonna roll for, I would say, at least 5 minutes. This is kind of the final felt. You'll have one more after this. But that's just a quick one to kind of finish off some rough edges. So do this for 5 more minutes. Good consistent pressure all over the ball. Okay, so we've done about 5 more minutes of felting with our styrofoam ball covered in roving, this time without the nylon. I'm gonna open it up and see how it looks. So we're gonna open that up, give it a squeeze and pour out the water. I should bring my towel back and pull it out. And just let's give it a little roll on this towel, give it a little squeeze, get some of the water out of it. It's going to take some drying time, but at least it won't be dripping. Okay, so now we have this nice, lovely felt covered styrofoam ball, which looks lovely, but is not useful. So we're going to see if we can find a spot, either we can feel is thin, maybe that we can see the ball showing through something, or just looking at it, what do we think would be a good top of the bowl? I think right here. And I'm just gonna pinch it up. It's pretty thick right there, actually. I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna pinch it up right here and give it a little snip. I wish I had better scissors here. So you wanna give it a snip. And you don't want your snip to be too big. You need to get all the way down to that ball. This is gonna stretch. We're gonna stretch it down around the ball to get it off. But if you make this cut too big, you can't obviously go back again. If you make it, you make it and it's not big enough, like mine wasn't, then I can always go back and enlarge. A better pair of sharp scissors would be really helpful too here. There we go. Now I can see my styrofoam. So I'm just going to there we go. And then I'm just going to stretch and try and stretch this out enough to get that ball out of there. And if it doesn't look like it's going to go, then I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a little cut, just little cuts, because those it will stretch quite a bit. I want to just be able to get that ball out of there. I'm still not there yet. Oh, almost got it. Almost have it. Not quite. So I'm going to have to give it another little snip. It's really tough. There we go. I think hopefully that'll do it now. There we go. It's coming. Whoa! Shot that right through there onto the floor. Okay. So we have our little hole. Now, your cut edge obviously is kind of rough. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to take a little bit of our water, boop, just a little bit. Probably should put the tire down because it poured right through. Get it good and wet. You can actually dip it in the water too. And then we'll work on our towel. Then we're just going to roll it in our hands a little bit. We're going to just ball it up and roll it in our hands. So give it a little squeeze, and that's every time you do that, some more of that water comes out. And what this is going to do is it's going to help solidify the last little bit of felting. Maybe that's some of the loose fibers that came out when you were trying to get the styrofoam ball out. And it's going to take that cut edge and give it more of a finished edge. So we're just going to do that. Then we're going to open it up again. And then you shape it. Now, how you shape it is entirely up to you. If you want, you can use something like our glass, and you can set it over the top or the bottom, and you can mold it. That's how I did this one. I just set it over the top of a glass when it was wet, and I pulled it down and I just let it dry just like that. So when I was done, it had a more flattened base. Now this one though, kind of like it's a little bit more organic. I think I'm just going to kind of shape it by hand and then I'll let it sit. If you want to, you can use your scissors to trim off the top and make your top edge more even. So you could trim that off and then you would, again, give it a quick dunk in the water and roll it around in your hands. You could even put it back in the plastic bag and roll it around, but you don't want to roll it so much that it all melts together as one mass. But if you do it a little bit more, these cut edges will smooth out. So if you wanted to cut that off so that you have it all the way straight around, you can do that. And so there's your little felted bowl for knickknacks, for office, your paper clips and your rubber bands and things like that. Little spray of dried flowers would be lovely in here. This one is quite thick, but if you do it with a little bit less felt, if it doesn't turn out so thick, an electric tea light could go in there. It would be lovely. If you want to learn more about felting, in your instructions, I've included just a short bibliography, 3 titles that we have in the library collection that not only have more information about felting, wet felting, but also needle felting and other kinds, as well as projects to do. So you can check those out. And we'd also love it if you shared your creations with us on our social media. You'll find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We want to thank the foundation, Bettendorf Public Library Foundation, and their funding units for sponsoring this particular Creation Studio workshop. Like I said, this is part of our Global Gathering 2-month series of programs where we highlight the history and the culture, the literature and the arts of cultures from around the world. This month and next month we're covering the whole globe. So take a look at our website at bettendorflibrary.com to see what else we have going on.